Hello, and welcome to another episode of Living Well with Dr. Mike. I'm your host, Dr. Mike Cockrell, and I look forward to helping you through this series create a life of health and happiness. In today's episode, we are going to be talking about using nasal irrigation for sinus and allergy symptoms. Now, at the time of this recording, in the part of the country I live in, we are struggling with sinus and allergy symptoms. It has been hot, it has been dry. They are harvesting the crops in this area. Lots of allergens in the environment, and people are struggling with sinus symptoms. So, I'm going to talk a little bit about how you can manage these things using a simple nasal irrigation technique to get you relief and help improve the symptom control that you can get without having to resort to medications. Okay? Sinus and allergy issues affect more than 37 million Americans each and every year, and they are constantly out there. During every season of the year, we have some kind of irritant, allergen, virus, bacteria. There's always something out there that's causing some of this. So, this is good information to have regardless of where you live or what season it is, because you will probably likely at some point in time deal with some type of sinus and allergy issue. So let's talk about nasal irrigation. How is it working? Is it okay to do it? Chronic sinus and allergy problems can leave you feeling as though your nose is perpetually just stuffed up. If you want to breathe freely again, many sinus sufferers end up relying on nasal irrigation so that they can flush out those clogged nasal passages using a simple saltwater solution. There's several different products that can be used to do nasal irrigation. We're going to talk about those in just a minute. But basically, what it boils down to is with any of these devices, you're basically pouring a mixture of salt and water into one nostril. That fluid flows through the nasal cavity, out the other nostril, and in the process, it's going to help you break up mucus, get that cleared out, and improve your ability to breathe. Um, the idea behind nasal irrigation is that it helps the body get rid of irritating and infectious agents that make their way into the nose. The nasal passages come equipped with these tiny hair-like structures called cilia. They beat back and forth to catch dirt, bacteria, viruses, other irritants that are in the air and in the environment, and they help you basically clean up the air that's passing through your nasal passages. Nasal irrigation can be a very effective way to relieve sinus symptoms, and it's a great complement to traditional sinus treatments, and it really is a great complement before you have to go to antibiotics or nasal steroids to help with those symptoms. So, let's look at a few of the tools for nasal irrigation. Basically, there are three basic tools that we use for nasal irrigation. The neti pot is probably one that has been popularized and most common these days. Everybody's heard about it. Dr. Oz did a big topic on it a couple of 3 years ago, and it sort of pulled it into mainstream conversation. Before then, I had never even heard of what a neti pot was. Bulb syringes can be used, squeeze bottles can be used. So let's sort of look at all of these. The neti pot is basically a little teapot shaped device similar to this. They come in all kinds of shapes and forms and fashions, plastic, ceramic, you can find a whole host of them. The concept is the same regardless. You mix some salt water in this little device. You put the spout in one side of your nose, you tilt your head forward and to the side, and you let the water drain through your nasal passages out the other side, and in the process it irrigates and cleanses the sinus passages. It helps thin mucus. It helps move that mucus out of your clogged up sinus passages. It helps wash away irritants and debris and bacteria and viruses that are trapped in the nasal cilia, and it sort of just cleanses that whole system. Bulb syringe can be used for the same thing. A little messier, similar concept. You just suck up the salt water, flush it through one side, out the other side. The squeeze bottle is another great tool. This particular brand you can find pretty much in any pharmacy out there in the United States. This is the particular one that I like the most. The NeilMed squeeze bottle is so easy to use. Plus, you don't have to worry about making as big of a mess. I I use this typically in the morning when I'm taking a shower, and I irrigate through one side, sort of squeeze the saline through one side and out the other, which really helps get those clogged passages opened up, gets that thick mucus out of there, and helps rinse away the debris. So let's take a quick moment and look at the pros and cons behind nasal irrigation. The benefits of nasal irrigation are simply that it rinses away debris. So when we breathe in, we pick up the cilia in our nasal passage traps airborne chemicals, pollutants, dust, small particles that are getting breathed in, bacteria, viruses, fungi, all of those things get pulled into our nasal passage, and many of them get trapped in the cilia. They get sort of snuck into the mucous membranes there, and your body sort of traps them so that they don't proceed any further. Nasal irrigation helps rinse away all of that collected debris. Nasal irrigation also helps decrease mucosal swelling. That salt solution that you use helps decrease the swelling so you're not so congested. It helps thin up the mucus so you can actually blow that stuff out of your nose, get it out of the sinus passages, get the mucus flowing better so you're not so stuffy and congested. Now, the cons of nasal irrigation, there's only a couple of these, and one of them is that using nasal irrigation too often can actually be a bad thing. In fact, a study presented by the American College of Allergy, Asthma, and Immunology in 2009 showed that it may be counterproductive when you use it regularly over a long term. The study basically showed that patients using nasal saline irrigation for a year and then stopped using it for a year had a 62% lower incidence of sinusitis during the year in which they stopped. So that's beneficial. However, the idea behind this finding is that nasal mucus serves a beneficial function, helping to protect the body against infection. When the nasal mucus we have in our nose contains very important immune elements as well that are sort of a first line of respiratory defense against infection. So some of that mucus is a good thing. If you're constantly irrigating it off for long periods of time, then you may actually deplete the mucus and increase your risk of actually having secondary infections. Um, you want to make sure that you're keeping your device clean. You are pushing water through here. If you leave your device wet, if it stays in a moist area, it's going to be prone to actually growing bacteria. It's going to be prone to growing mold. So you want to make sure that you spend time cleaning that device, keeping it clean. Don't allow it to build up any unwanted bacteria or mold spores that you're going to then force into your sinus cavity, because that can be detrimental as well. And then there's a lot of cons, and well, there's a lot of argument, I guess is what it boils down to, about the type of water. Now, I would encourage you to either boil your water so that you've got rid of most of the bacteria that could be in it. Using tap water straight from the tap may not be the most beneficial thing because you're never really sure what's in there. If you filter your water, if you use distilled water, if you boil your water, those actually give you the benefit of not having to worry about introducing additional bacteria into the nasal passages, introducing fungus or parasites into the nasal passages. The likelihood of you having a problem with tap water is extremely slim, but in theory, it could pose a problem. So, that being said, I hope these strategies help you make some effective change in dealing with your sinus and allergy symptoms. Like I said, nasal irrigation, when used appropriately, is a great tool because it gives you instant relief. You're going to notice an instant decrease in the swelling in the mucosa. You're going to see that mucus thin up. You're going to be able to blow your nose more effectively. You're going to be able to get that plugged up mucus in the sinus cavities out of there more efficiently, more effectively, and without using antibiotics or other prescription drugs. You can get some really great relief. Listen, I hope this information was beneficial to you. I hope you will take it and put it into practice in your life. If you want more information about what we're doing here at Living Well with Dr. Mike, visit our website at www.livingwellwithdrmike.com. I also encourage you to please connect with me on Facebook at Living Well with Dr. Mike. I look forward to your comments, your feedback. I would love to have you let me know what you're struggling with so that we can address those issues head on and I can help you create a life of health and happiness. I will see you in the next episode. Until then, have a great day.